State taxes favor those with the highest income. So says a new report by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy that found the poorest 20% of households pay on average more than twice the state and local tax rate as the richest 1% of taxpayers. We spoke earlier to Mike Cassidy, policy associate at the Century Foundation, about the report. Mike, we hear about income inequality all the time, but there's this tax inequality. What is driving that in the state level?
So at the state level, many of the financing options are done through consumption taxes, and consumption taxes, like a sales tax, exactly, a use tax, will be the same no matter what your income is. So if you go to the store and you buy groceries that cost $10, you're going to pay 10% of that, whether you're a millionaire or whether you're making $10 an hour. And when you factor that, at the end of the day, it winds up being a larger share for low-income people.
This is considered the most regressive of taxes, right, is the sales tax.
Generally speaking, yes.
And in many states, they don't have income tax, which would be the most progressive. Florida, for example, doesn't have an income tax.
Correct.
And is that why you see this discrepancy in Florida?
Yes, exactly. So Florida has a reputation of being a very low-tax place, but when you're a low-income resident, the fact of the matter is it's actually a pretty high income tax.
And when you talk about them paying, are you talking about a higher percentage of their income, basically, on a percentage level?
On a percentage level, yes. Some of the more regressive states, poor residents can pay as much as 7 times larger share of their income to taxes as more wealthy residents do.
Okay, and then I guess the issue with real estate taxes, for example, it tends to be the more wealthy individuals who own property.
It is more wealthy individuals who own property, but at the same time, it's regressive in the sense that for middle-class households, the home is one of their larger assets, and it is taxed, whereas other forms of wealth, like stocks, capital gains, are not.
When you find that states try to lower their income taxes, does that usually have a negative consequence when it comes to things like sales tax and real estate property tax?
If you think of a state needing to raise money to pay for the operations of government, if you reduce one thing, you're probably going to have to increase the other. So if you're not cutting spending, you will have to raise taxes somewhere else.
Okay, but what about the argument that you want to have a low income tax base because those are the individuals that are creating jobs, and that by raising income taxes, those states drive away those people, exacerbating the problem because people on the lower income scales can't leave as easily?
Yeah, what we see is at a general level, income taxes are actually quite low at the state level. California has a temporary tax at the highest level being about 13%, and that's high among states. So we don't really see very high income taxes on wealthy residents. What we will see, though, from an economics perspective, is that you want taxes that strike a trade-off between equity and efficiency. Now, normally you would think that one might be trading off with the other, but what we actually see is, in this case, poorer residents who are going to spend a larger share of their income, if you're taxing that at a higher rate, you're going to reduce their spending and reduce economic growth.
Okay, so the worst states when it comes to this discrepancy, Washington, Florida, Texas, the best, California, Delaware, and Minnesota. Why do those states stand out?
They stand out for different reasons. As I mentioned, California is one of the more progressive income taxes in the country, whereas Delaware, their tax structure is not so progressive on the income side, but they have very low sales taxes. So on balance, it becomes pretty even across the board.
But there's going to be an argument that the economy in Texas is pretty good, the economy in Florida is pretty good, the economy in California is pretty lousy. Is there any connection there?
When economists have looked at this question, there's not a whole lot of tie between what a state's tax policy is and what their economic growth is. So there's lots of factors that go into that.
So does the Century Foundation have a recommendation of what should be done? And is there political will to do it?
Right. So one of our fellows at the Century Foundation, a fellow by the name of Ed Kleinbard, has a very solid recommendation in his new book, and that is to say we should focus on progressive spending rather than necessarily progressive taxation, so that think about what government is going to do. We should be spending more money on education, which will give kids from all different income backgrounds a chance to get ahead and have better livelihoods as they grow up.
Okay. Mike Cassidy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Ahead, how one pizza delivery man got stiffed on his tip and now the customers are paying big. We have the incredible video. You're watching Arise Xchange.